Well, I'm not sure how we made it here, Minty, but it is Week 15, Sunday, early game action. A lot of things happening, a lot of weird stuff happening in this particular set of games, which is not surprising because a lot of weird stuff happened coming into Week 15, so no surprises there. But let's jump right into it. Our first weird result that we got to talk about. I guess actually this one's not that surprising. This is a pretty standard one. Titans 13, Steelers 3, the current halftime line, which I know you took Pittsburgh plus 6.5. Listen, you might be onto something here, Minty, because like the Steelers might be the worst first half team in football, but they've shown some life in the second half. Maybe that happens here today in this one.
Indeed. I do think the Steelers are a second half team, so I'm really hoping they catch up here. I did bet them live plus 6.5 when they were only down 10-3. This one was a really tough game for me to call because I really like this matchup, but I have good points for both teams, and I have reasons that they could both win and cover. However, I'm leaning more towards the Steelers, obviously. The Steelers are 5-3 against the spread as underdogs, and I just would not count Mike Tomlin out just yet. So I'm expecting a big second half for the Steelers here.
My theory on this whole, the Steelers stink in the first half and they actually show some life in the second half is basically because, they can't run the ball. They can't run the ball at all. Look, Najee Harris, 4 carries for 6 yards in the first half, despite spending a first-round pick on a running back. They can't really run the ball. It's not the strength of their team. I think when they go to that quick strike passing game in the second half of games, trying to catch up, recover from these deficits, I actually think that's the best version of their offense.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't really have much to say more about this game, hoping it's not a blowout here.
Yeah, agree. All right, let's move on to let's talk Jets and Dolphins. I know we don't have much to say about this one, so we can be quick. Jets 17, Dolphins 10. That's surprising. There was an early turnover by Tua, missed someone in the end zone a little later on. Zach Wilson actually did one of those plays that he did at BYU, a little improvisation, escape the potential sack there behind the line of scrimmage. Fires off a ball to Ryan Griffin. That was probably the most exciting play of the game so far. Listen, the Jets fans desperately need to see some signs of life from Zach Wilson. This has been a moderately encouraging day so far. The pregame line was Dolphins minus 10.5, which seems pretty generous. I know Miami has been playing well of late, and obviously the Jets stink, but that was very generous. Now we're all the way around to Jets minus 1.5, Minty.
I wish you guys could see my notes from the beginning of the week where I just typed I don't trust the Dolphins minus 10.5 even against the Jets, which is verbatim what I just wrote here. The Jets, are 3-10 against the spread. They are the worst covering team this season so far, but they're looking good right now, and I wouldn't put my hard-earned money on this particular game, but I wouldn't be mad if we saw an upset here.
Yeah, wouldn't be too surprising. It would be a tough scene for the Tua revival crowd that's out there if they lose this game. But we shall see. Maybe the Dolphins can come back in the second half. Duke Johnson, by the way, started at running back for the Miami Dolphins. Minty, people in the fantasy streets have been weird, kind of weirdly, it was a stupid thing for most of the time that it was a thing. I've been clamoring for Duke Johnson to be free, Duke Johnson to get the starting opportunity for some team. He finally gets it when nobody wants him to get it here because everybody wanted Myles Gaskin as a value daily fantasy play, whatever. So pretty ironic. I find that stuff to be funny. But let's move on to another surprising game. We've got Lions 17-0 over the Arizona Cardinals. Pre-game line, Arizona minus 12.5. Current line, Detroit minus 4.5. Now, Minty, we're talking about this before we jumped on today. Jared Goff, the quarterback for the Lions, playing pretty well today. Cliff Kingsbury went out of his way. Don't know why you would admit this publicly, buddy, but he admitted publicly that he has never he has never beaten Jared Goff in his career. Obviously, Jared Goff spent most of his time with the Rams in the same division as Cliff Kingsbury. Understandable why you lose to Sean McVay and the Rams. Now you're losing to Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. A little bit of a different look here for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I wish he had said that. I wish I'd known he had said that before I put the Cardinals money line on my parlay. All the Cardinals have to do for me today is just win straight up, and I think there's actually value in taking the Cardinals plus 4.5 here. Maybe let's see if we can get a 6.5 or so. But I do believe that the Cardinals can come back. They are capable, but man. The 17-point deficit is kind of tough if you're not, Tom Brady. So we'll have to see there.
That is tough. Yeah, no, that's a big ask. Kyler is 11 of 15 for 91 yards through the air. Obviously, we know that there's no DeAndre Hopkins. AJ Green doesn't have a catch so far in this game. They're not really running the ball. James Conner, I'm kind of surprised actually that James Conner played in this game because he has an ankle sprain or some sort of situation there. I'm surprised that he actually is playing this game. But on the Lions part of this, I want to give the Lions some credit here and some love because, look, the wide receiver room is something to focus on for Detroit right now. Amon-Ra St. Brown, their day 3 rookie draft pick, has 10 targets, 7 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. This guy has been the top receiver in terms of routes run and targets since their bye. Like, he is a guy that you probably want to start as a wide receiver 3 in fantasy, regardless of scoring format. Like, you'd feel better in a PPR or half PPR, but makes a 37-yard touchdown catch in this game. He's playing really well, giving them starting level play. And Josh Reynolds, another former LA Rams guy, 4 targets, 4 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown in this game. Like, they have Minty. They went from a joke of a wide receiver room, like, maybe Brashad Perryman can make the team and start. Like, LOL, that's not serious. Tyrell Williams in the year 2021, that's not a serious thing. They got a bunch of goofballs taking snaps early in the year. Now they actually have a professional wide receiver corps, and I think they're like not that bad right now, even though obviously their record is terrible.
Yeah, they really don't look bad today, and today may be their day. I think the trend could very well live on that Cliff Kingsbury does not beat Jared Goff today, and hey, good for him. Good for the Lions. Not good for Cliff. Yeah,
good for Jared Goff. There's not this has been a tough year for Jared Goff. Every time the freaking Rams are in prime time, it's like, man, the Rams, no disrespect to Jared Goff, but man, the Rams never could have done this before. Now that Matthew Stafford's like, well, that is disrespectful to Jared Goff. Even if it is true, it is disrespectful. All right, we spent a lot of time talking about the Lions. Enough of that. Let's move on. We got Panthers at Bills to talk about right now. This game just went into the half. 17-8. The Bills are over the Panthers. Pre-game line was Buffalo, another huge favorite there, -14. Current line still going towards the Bills' direction here, which is a little surprised the Panthers have made this mildly interesting. But Josh Allen threw an interception. Cam Newton actually, led a scoring drive and popped in the 2-point conversion. The throw to DJ Moore there was that how they did that. And Robbie Anderson got himself a long carry, but I still feel like, listen, I have no faith in this Panthers team that is without a kicker. Minty, their kicker got hurt in pregame warmup. Like that, what in the world is going on in Carolina? I feel like the Bills can probably pull away in this one.
Yeah, a very weird season for kickers in general, okay? We're seeing a lot of weird things happen to kickers, so bless them. This was the most bet matchup over at BetMGM here in Las Vegas, and the Bills, -13.5, -14, was the most bet team in terms of ticket count. So very surprising to me there, because I think it's more of a bet against Carolina than it is on the Bills, because the Bills have just looked awful in recent form. I wouldn't trust them to win by 2 touchdowns. I would actually put my money on the Panthers here. I'm not going to, but plus 15.5 is pretty hard to pass up. I think they can come in with the backdoor cover here.
Yeah, I think the Bills will pull away and win this game. They're just a much better team, but that is a huge point spread, as you mentioned. And the fact that it's actually bigger here in the halftime portion, that's surprising as well. I'm with you. I would not bet that on the Bills there. Let's move on. Let's talk Cowboys at Giants here. 15-3. Cowboys are, they're kind of getting right here against the Giants team that stinks. It's into the third quarter here. Do want to shout out Saquon Barkley. He made a beautiful little one-handed catch there. Anything on this game? The current halftime line is Dallas -14.5. The Giants stink. I don't know that we need to talk much about them.
Yeah, we don't need to talk much about this one. The Cowboys were my best bet. Minus 11.5 was the highest I went. I actually bet it at minus 11, so just keep that in mind. I can see Dallas blow out the Giants here. I'm surprised they're not up by more. Like, this should be a 20-3 game. Honestly, in my opinion, the Cowboys are 7-2 against the spread versus the Giants their last 9. I don't know. Cowboys seem like a winner here, but that's just me crossing my fingers.
Let's hope so. You should be pretty safe on that one. Last game we'll touch on just I don't even know if we need anything here, but Houston 20 over the Jacksonville Jaguars 10. Look, James Robinson got his touchdown. That's going to make everybody happy in the post-Urban Meyer era for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A fan was running on the field, got tackled by security. That's about the most exciting note. If you play daily fantasy, though, like, this game's going to have some value. This game already got 30 points here. I feel like that's pretty this game could be interesting in the second half for daily fantasy players, but that's about it, Minty. Not too much else to say there. You know what? Let's move on. No more discussion of these two teams. They stink. Perfect. Nothing good there. Let's move on. Look ahead. We've got a lot to talk about because of the adjusted schedule here. Let's start with Bengals at Broncos. I'm surprised, actually. I guess not too surprised. The Broncos are a credible operation, even if their offense with Teddy Bridgewater is never going to be that high ceiling. But they are favored here. Denver -3 is the pregame line.
Yeah, I lean Bengals just because of my bias. I'm still riding high on how great they were for me, how much money they made for me in the beginning of the season. So I did tweet out earlier, should I bet the Bengals +3? And then I decided to lay off because Joey and his finger, we don't know how that's going to affect him. I think the Broncos defense can come up with some big plays here, so I don't quite trust the Bengals right now, even though it is hard to pass up plus points here. So I like the Bengals, but I'm probably going to save my money for a better game here.
Nice. We'd love to see it. All right, we're doing something different this week, Minty, because there has been, at least before our show, prior to the show, there were no player props for the Monday night game. I'm sure it's because of COVID confusion, everything like that. So we got to sprinkle in 3 here for these games coming up in the afternoon window to take the place of Monday so that I can still have 6. And keep me accountable to this whole thing. I've got one in this game. I've got the over on Joe Mixon's rushing yards, which is set at a pretty reasonable 68.5 rushing yards. Now, when you think about the Denver Broncos, I think one of the reasons that they're favored over the Bengals is this defense is still, they've got it like going in terms of the pass defense perspective, especially Patrick Surtain looks amazing. Vic Fangio is like the godfather, the originator of the 2 high defenses that limit the vertical passing game. And that's what the Bengals do best. You know, whether it was to Jamar Chase earlier in the year, mostly to T. Higgins of late, they've been great on these downfield shot plays. What happens when the Broncos try to take that away? That's kind of the way this defense operates, is they want to let you run the ball on them and take those short passes. And the Bengals have shown no problem being a run-heavy offense, especially since their bye week. So give me Joe Mixon over 68.5 rushing yards. Since week 10, the Broncos are 8th in dropback EPA allowed, but they're 21st in rushing EPA allowed. I think the matchup here leads me more towards the Bengals run game than it does the Bengals pass game.
Ooh, I like that. I mean, I think this is set pretty high. I mean, Broncos defense allowing the 10th fewest rushing yards per game. I mean, I hope Joe Mixon is mightier than this defense here. I do want to see the Bengals succeed and all the players on that team succeed. So I like your over, but I'm pulling back a little bit. I don't know why. I think it's just set really high.
It's a little high. I feel like it's reasonable, though, for a guy in Joe Mixon who has been, used as a workhorse for most of this year. Let's move on to Falcons at 49ers. 49ers, pretty big home favorites, -9. The Falcons, like when you look at their point differential or like their, ranking in terms of overall team, DVOA, efficiency, that type of stuff, they stink, but their record is pretty good. They somehow end up pulling out these games. If there was a team that goes against the whole you are what your record says you are, it is the 2021 Atlanta Falcons, Minty. How do you see this game going? Because it's kind of tough. Like, the 49ers are on a roll. They theoretically should crush the Falcons here, but I don't know. The Falcons kind of make things interesting. I think they're well coached. Arthur Smith, I think, has done a good job for them so far.
Absolutely. The Falcons do make things interesting, even though the Niners are on a roll, just as you said. I don't like to bet on games involving the Falcons because they can keep things close and win when they're not supposed to win. So I would kind of look to the Falcons catching 9 points here. I think that's a lot of points for the Niners to be favored by, even though they are showing that they are capable of being a very good team. Yeah, I would look to the Falcons, but I don't think I'll be betting this one.
Yeah, I feel like I'm with you there that I would probably not bet this one. Now, my player prop in this game, I've got Brandon Ayuk over 54.5 receiving yards at -115. Since he's been integrated into the offense, he's been getting steady volume. Obviously got double-digit targets last week, was just behind George Kittle, 11 targets for Ayuk, 15 targets for George Kittle. Look, I think that this matchup does set up extremely well for the 49ers passing game. The Falcons have a great young corner in A.J. Terrell, but he pretty much just stays on the boundary, stays at that left cornerback position over there, and Ayuk mostly runs his routes from the other side of the field. That should be advantageous there. And we know that this team in the 49ers just attacks the middle of the field. They do not throw deep. They do not throw outside the numbers there. If they're going to throw deep, they're going to do it down the middle. That sets up really well for this 49ers passing game in general. Ayuk set pretty low at 54.5 receiving yards here. I think he can at least get into the 60s or 70s. Maybe not a monster game or anything like that, but I think he can get into that range there. And it will be interesting to see if they continue to use Deebo Samuel as they don't exclusively use him as a running back. Like he mostly, Minty, is still lining up as a wide receiver, but he doesn't really get thrown the ball anymore, but he does get the ball on handoffs in the red zone, everything like that.
Yeah, I think you've been riding Ayuk for quite some time now, and he's been sensational. I mean, the Falcons won't do much to stop Jimmy G, and they are allowing the most passing yards per game and points per game, so I really like that over. You think it's set a little high? I think it's set a little low here, so that's going to be an easy over for you.
All right, well, good. I feel better about that. Listen, you're right. I have been riding Brandon Ayuk even from the beginning of the season when it was not so fun. So, there's still some demons here we got to overcome. And I feel pretty good about it. At least we got Tank Williams saying his name on FFL. That is a good first step. All right, let's move on to Packers at Ravens. The Packers, no Lamar Jackson in this game. Packers are -9 here. Minty, this is an interesting one. The NFC is pretty interesting up at the top. Of course, we'll have the Bucs and Saints later on, but the Packers can really, if they can coast over this extremely banged up Ravens team, I mean, when is the final straw going to break the camel's back here for Baltimore? It could be a Lamar Jackson absence here that really just finally pushes this team over the edge.
Yeah, I don't have any calls for this game. 9 points is a lot, and I don't doubt that Aaron Rodgers can do it. I mean, this Green Bay team is quite complete, and even with missing key players or components, they can still overcome deficit and still just win the game and possibly cover. But 9 points is a lot, and you're right, the Ravens are just so banged up. I don't really know what to expect. I think we're all really expecting this to be a blowout game. But we'll see. I don't have much to say about this one.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. The one, I do have a prop for this one too, and I feel pretty good about this one. As long as he's healthy, Marquez Valdes-Scantling over 38.5 receiving yards. Look, I tried to get this on MVS last week. Didn't work out. It went to Allen Lazard as the replacement slot receiver. Probably should have seen that one coming. That one's on me. However, this one sets up so well for MVS to get one of his trademark long plays. He is dealing with a back injury, but nevertheless, he can still get out there and run those go routes. The Ravens are 31st in explosive pass rate allowed. They've been like bottom 5 in that metric all year long. They have a lot of secondary injuries. And then, Minty, they're without Marlon Humphrey. They've been without Marcus Peters for most of the year. Then this morning, Jimmy Smith popped onto the COVID list. It's like, who is going to play cornerback for the Ravens? I think MVS can get one of his big plays in here and push this over.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say about why MVS will hit this over. I mean, the ceiling set's so low. Packers will have a day. At least I think so. At least the books think so. So over it is.
There we go. All right, let's move on to the Sunday night game. We got Saints at Bucs. This is going to be interesting. The Saints have had the Bucs number over the last couple of years with Tom Brady. Obviously, they did beat them in the playoffs last year, did the Buccaneers beat the Saints, but still, nevertheless, they beat them again this year. Obviously, in the regular season, they dominated them in Tom Brady's first season there. But this is a big one. Tampa Bay -11.5. Minty, how are we feeling about this game going into it?
So another double-digit favorite that I think I'm on. I like the Bucks minus 11.5. This is a big revenge game because they lost week 8 or 9 against the Saints. I don't remember now. But this is a revenge game. It's hard to beat the same. Yes, it's hard to beat the same team twice. So I can see the Bucks win big here. I like Taysom as the Swiss Army knife that he used to be, but as quarterback, I just don't like him. He's just very one-dimensional. I don't think he can do much for the Saints. So I really like the Bucks here to just blow out New Orleans.
I would disagree. I would say that Taysom Hill can do a lot for the Saints, but can he do it well? That's another question.
Okay.
He can do a lot of things,
yes.
But can he do those things well? It's hard to say. I do think we saw my first player prop fly up on the screen. We could throw it back up there. Tom Brady over 296.5 passing yards at minus 115. I agree with you. I think this is a big-time revenge game for Brady. I think he comes in, drops a hammer on this team. And look, obviously with Leonard Fournette banged up, they can't really just rely on the ground and pound attack like they have in a couple of the last few games here. I think Tom Brady plays well in this game. I think he plays clean, obviously, and there's some matchup advantages we could talk about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this prop here. I don't even need to look at his past numbers or analytics or anything. I think he's going to have a great game today. The Saints have been responsible for some big plays on defense, but they've been slacking as of late. So I like Tom Brady over this number, over 300 even.
One of the reasons that I like Tom Brady so much is the matchup advantage that Chris Godwin has as the interior receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give me the over on 77.5 receiving yards. This is too low to me. Last time that Chris Godwin faced the New Orleans Saints, we know that Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Evans, they tangle on the outside there. Chris Godwin drummed them for 8 catches, 140 yards last time they played. One of his best games of the season. He's also coming off 32 targets in his last 2 games. I mean, 77.5 receiving yards in a big divisional primetime game. No way. I think he pretty clearly gets over this one here.
Love the over. He's been having a phenomenal season, and this set is so high, it means that the books think that he'll have another great game. So I love the over here as well with you, Harmon.
And last one, we already talked about Taysom Hill. Give me the over on Taysom Hill, 8.5 carries. I think he runs more in this game in a catch-up effort, whether it's scrambles, whether it's designed runs. I think we get the over on his carries, but I'll be staying away from any Taysom Hill production-related bets. Taysom Hill is one of these guys, like, you want to look at the box score, look at his fantasy scores at the end of the game, but you don't want to watch it happen, which unfortunately, Sunday Night Football, primetime game, everybody's going to be watching it.
Yeah, 8.5 carries is a lot though, but it being juiced at minus 140, I think you're onto something there. I think most likely it's gonna happen that he's gonna carry the ball quite a bit in this matchup.
Yeah, he's a scrambler, so we shall see. Let's move on to Monday night. Let's go Monday Raiders at Browns first. Schedule's weird, all right, folks. Try to keep it moving here. Raiders at Browns. Browns minus 3. I don't even like. How do we talk about this game when we don't even know really who's going to be playing? Minty. Wyatt Teller did get activated from the COVID list. I think that's important. He's an awesome guard for the Cleveland Browns. And Nick Chubb, fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever you got to do. He has not been placed on the list after spending some time there earlier this year. I do think Nick Chubb is the key for the Browns to win this game. How are you feeling about your Raiders going into Cleveland after this whole schedule change?
This line move has been crazy. Browns open up as 5-point favorites, then down to 3-point favorites, and then after the Baker Mayfield news, Raiders were 1.5-point favorites, and now the Browns are 3-point favorites. I cannot touch this game. I don't even know who's playing, who's not. It changes every hour. So I can't put money on this game, and I can't tell you guys to put money on this game because this is just really such a crapshoot. I like the Raiders catching 3 points, but I really have no reason to like them catching 3 points. Both teams have been so inconsistent lately.
Yeah, people might not remember this, but Nick Mullins might be the guy to start for the Cleveland Browns. And I know this because, my good pal Nick Mullins, his first ever, I think it was his first ever career start. Yes, it was. First ever career start. I thought I was the smartest guy in the room being oh yeah, I'm streaming the Raiders defense. Back in the Oakland days, the Oakland Raiders defense against this goofball quarterback for the 49ers nobody's ever heard of. 16 completions, 22 attempts, 269 yards, 3 touchdowns, 151 passer rating for Nick Mullins in his first career start against the Raiders. I don't know if we're going to see anything like that in this game, but I did think that little piece of history is worth remembering for Nick Mullins back with the 49ers. All right, let's move on to the actual Monday night football game. Vikings at Bears. The Vikings -6 here. This is an interesting game to think about, but how are we feeling about Minnesota -6 going into Chicago? I mean, they're a weird team. They play weird games, but like, come on, it's the Bears without like most of their coaching staff.
Yeah, the Vikings are kind of like the Falcons to me. Very like, I like to stay away from them because they cover and they don't cover in games they need to, and it's just weird. But I like the Bears catching 6 points here, and I'm calling an upset as well. I think the Bears have the chance to win straight up. I mean, they're 6-2 against the spread their last 8 games against Minnesota. And I think people are riding high on the Vikings, but they're forgetting that Kirk Cousins is not great in primetime games. So this is kind of solely why I'm taking the Bears here.
Love it. I think that totally makes sense. I wish we'd gotten some player props for this game, but they're still not even up yet. There's some interesting spots here to attack on both sides, so we shall see how that goes. All right, let's move on to the Tuesday games because that's the thing. I mean, how great is this, Minty? If you want to ignore your family this holiday season, the NFL has made it extremely easy. We had a Saturday game, we got Sunday slate, we got 2 Monday games, 2 Tuesday games. We got a Thursday night game. Obviously, we got Christmas games. Like, I mean, football almost every day of the week. You can, like you said, you can totally ignore your family if that's what you want to do. Let's start Tuesday. Seahawks at Rams. The Rams are -6.5. This is really the Rams' chance, especially I'm seeing the Lions pick off another pass here right now in this game. If the Cardinals keep messing this up, man, the Rams can really make some ground up in the NFC West, especially after beating them last week.
Yeah, absolutely. I still think the Rams come up with a win here. But I'm so tempted to take the Seahawks +6.5. The Rams are missing so many players, and I hate to use injuries and absences as a reason why I'm taking the other side, but the Seahawks have looked pretty good as of late. I think Russ is finally getting things together, but I'm still a little scarred by how he disappointed me the past several weeks before last. So I'm cautious. I haven't bet on this game yet, but I would probably take the points with the Seahawks, catching almost a touchdown.
Just to update everybody, the Lions just scored another touchdown, so it'll be, if they make the extra point, 24-3 over the Arizona Cardinals. So again, huge opportunity for the Rams here. They are going to get Odell Beckham back. They got Darrell Henderson back off the COVID list. Like, there's a lot of decent. This pushing this game back definitely helped the LA Rams. That's for sure. Beckham has been playing great, by the way. He's looked as good as I think he's looked since his Giants days, like way better than he did with the Browns. Even though I don't think he looked that bad with the Browns, we just know obviously there wasn't a total connection there between between the quarterback and wide receiver. But really like the way this sets up for the Rams. I don't know. I think Seattle is not a good team. I think they've got some serious flaws on defense, but we'll see if the whole Rashad Penny experiment keeps working out for them. The one thing I'll say, Minty, if Tyler Lockett doesn't get cleared, doesn't get pulled off the COVID list in time, I think that's a huge deal. He has been the one guy since Russ has come back that has played consistently well. DK Metcalf's been kind of in and out. The volume's been there. The efficiency hasn't. Obviously, if there's no Lockett, you're pushing DK up your fantasy rankings and you're feeling pretty good about it. But, man, if they don't have Tyler Lockett, I think that is a huge loss for this passing game, and one that I do think actually might swing me to Rams -6.5 here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. That's going to be a big hit for them. So hopefully he gets cleared, but I'm preparing for him not to get cleared.
Yeah, that would be a huge loss, as I mentioned. All right, last game of the week. Washington football team at Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are -6.5. This is another one, Minty. I don't know. I don't know who's playing for Washington. We've got a ton of players that they have gotten some guys back from the COVID list, but some of the defenders, I think Montez Sweat got off. I think Jonathan Allen has returned. I'm not sure yet, but their quarterback situation, I mean, Taylor Heineke's still on the COVID list. Kyle Allen still on the COVID list. They might have to start like some goofballs that have been hanging around there for a while, or Garrett Gilbert, who they picked up on Friday or Thursday or something like that. I mean, this guy just got there, and he might have to start for them. Not great for the Washington football team to end the season here. So I really have no idea how to feel about this one. The one thing we are watching on the Eagles side of it is who's going to start at quarterback, because Jalen Hurts still hasn't officially been put out there. We'll see. It might be another Gardner Minshew start, even though the team wants to go back to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'm looking at their list of injuries here, Washington's, and it is long. Like, I didn't even realize how long it was. So if you guys bet on, if you guys had bet on the Eagles earlier in the week at, like, I think it was -3, -3.5, you got a really good number here, because now they're all the way up to -6. I'd still lay the points with the Eagles here, but the NFC East is just such a crapshoot. I cannot confidently back up this pick. Lean in Eagles, whether it's Minshew or Jalen Hurts. But man, Washington looks banged up.
Extremely banged up. It is not going to be a pretty end of the season for them. But that is going to do it here. Yahoo Sportsbook Live, Week 15, a wild week indeed. It should be interesting to see how it all wraps up. And like I said, it's going to be going for a minute here all the way to Tuesday. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Minty, thank you for joining me again this week. We will see you next week. In the meantime, good luck to all your bets, all your daily fantasy teams, all your fantasy playoff runs. Let's go get this thing.